What's up, Renegade Nation? Before we begin the video, I'd like to give a big shout out to our most recent Patreon supporters: Musa, Lorenzo, The Game Dev, Adam Hart, Daryl Gaynor, Stinky Boy, Steven Sharp, Chelsea, Alex Arellano, Marvoius, Ann Van Leeuwen, Justin Petrzak, Ryan Zandis, Brian Nowatchik, Jordan David Inneking, Meme Review, and Tokusa. And as always, I'd like to give a big shout out to our executive producer, The Anime Hybrid. Thank you all very much for your support. And if you want to support us on Patreon, feel free to click the link down below to find out more. We'll see you there. Oh my god! He blew me away, dude. I'm coming, Chad. I'm here with you. Holy shit. It's been like a helicopter. It's been like a helicopter plane.
No!
Oh my god! He spun around like he was in a f***ing tornado. God dang it, dude. So close. God, man. El Coronador just dropping some knowledge on us, man.
What?
Wait, were you not listening to...
I'm not paying no attention to anything that's been going on the past, 5 minutes.
Man, El Coronador just dropped in and just dropped some knowledge on us, dude. I mean,
Dude, what the hell? We're not supposed to be having people over in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, he's El Coronador, man. He's the anti-coronavirus superhero. You know this.
That's not how science works, Nate. Shit!
Well, I mean, I don't know what to believe anymore, man. Some people say this, some people say that. Honestly, I don't know what to believe anymore. And
I believe that you had some jacked up, demented crap to show me.
Yeah, in some ways.
Can we stop talking about the Coronador, the Corona, whatever? I've got a big enough reminder of that shit strapped to my face right now. So
true, very true. So, yeah, there's some true crime stuff that you enjoy. You enjoy listening to some true crime podcasts and stuff like that, and you enjoy watching and listening to
I
some
enjoy
stories.
Investigations.
Yes.
Investigations are really, really interesting to me. Like, have you ever seen the documentary or the docuseries, The Staircase?
The Staircase? I have not, no.
Oh, dude. There's so many crazy ones. There's one called, I think it's called, Marine Corps Sniper. And it is crazy. It's the twists and turns. There's so many elaborate stories out there, and oftentimes fact is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, I can dig that.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing with true crime and stuff like that is, you hear and see from different perspectives. You see, from police perspective, and it's always the aftermath and stuff like that.
No, it's hindsight.
Yeah,
almost always.
It's usually hindsight. Which, truth is, with this whole thing right here, Mr. Nightmare, for the longest time he was using, he was telling story, had stories being told and everything. And we're in the back half of the year, and Halloween is rapidly approaching. And people have been dying for us to react to more stuff by Mr. Nightmare. And one that was recommended to us was one that he posted about last week, called 3 True Summertime Horror Stories. Now, these are usually told from first-person perspectives and stuff like that. Now, usually what he did in the past was he didn't really curate the stories or, do any investigation on them or anything like that. And he usually just put them out there, and then people were just like, dude, this is literally a creepypasta that was reposted on this site here. And he got in a little bit of trouble for that. But over time, he has done more investigative work, and the stories that he tells on here are usually ones that ring more true than the rest of them.
Interesting.
And and these are 3 right here that I think he said that he's very proud of, that he's done the research on, and he's actually gotten down in the nitty-gritty with the investigation and just made sure that all of this was up to par.
Okay.
So, 3 True Summertime Horror Stories by by Mr. Nightmare. People have been asking us to watch more Mr. Nightmare, and we're giving it to them. This was recommended on our Discord, and hopefully you all will enjoy this. So, without further ado, let's get to it.
My girlfriend of 7 years and I rented a beach house Airbnb in the Hamptons on Long Island in 2018. My girlfriend's name is Alicia. The house was very secluded, and it literally sat right on the beach, like back door led to the dunes. It was also
Not
more
bad.
or less a completely private beach during the day, except for the occasional locals going for walks or jogs along the dunes. We were there for 3 days and 2 nights. During the daytime, for the most part, we lay in the sand with drinks, or we jump in the pool in the backyard of the house. The first night, we went to some local bars to drink a little bit, then went back to the house to relax and watch a movie. The second day there, like I said, we basically did the same thing as the first day, only this time we hopped in the pool first before going to lay on the beach to dry off. The house was absolutely gorgeous, a fantasy home for Alicia and I. Woods surrounding the house, pool in the backyard, and beach 10 steps from the back door. It all seemed like it was going to be a fantastic weekend getaway. We stayed on the beach for many hours, until around maybe like 4 or 5. Right as we started packing up and I stood up, I looked at the house, at one of the windows specifically, and I thought for sure I could see someone standing at the window, looking down at me. The sun was kind of creating a glare on the window at its current position, so I couldn't tell 100% if my eyes were playing tricks on me. I grabbed Alicia's shoulder and pointed up at the window. "Do you see that?" I asked. When she said, "See what?" I could see that whatever I thought I saw didn't seem to be there anymore. I told her to keep packing up while I ran back to the house and up the stairs to the bedroom window where I thought I saw someone or something. The room was empty though, as was the closet, under the bed, and the rest of the upstairs rooms. The only noise was the sound of the window air conditioners in various rooms, and then the door opening downstairs. It was Alicia arriving with the stuff, so I chalked it up as seeing things after lying in the sun for hours. That night we hit a couple of the same bars again. We stayed out later this night because it would be our last night there. I think we got back around 11. Upon entering the living room, we tried to flick the lights on, but they wouldn't. Then we noticed all the digital clocks from the cable boxes were off too, so the power was out.
Huh.
I looked around for a circuit box, but couldn't find one. It was way too late to call the homeowner. All that would happen is we'd miss out on watching a movie that night. We were tired anyway, so we just went upstairs using our phones to provide us enough light to prevent us from falling on our faces up the stairs.
As you do when you've
We
had
went
some
to
drinks.
bed, and the alcohol in Alicia's system helped her knock out pretty quickly. But then, I sat up when I felt like I heard something from outside of the room. I looked at the doorway. Someone walked past the doorway in the hall. I covered my mouth with my hands to prevent my squeal of horror from being heard. I lifted myself over Alicia to get off the bed and run to lock the door. The second I locked it, there were knocks on the other side, and someone said, "It's the landlord that came to fix the power." I didn't believe it for a second.
No.
The knocks turned to more aggressive bangs, and the door started to shake as the man on the other side started twisting and shaking the doorknob. My girlfriend woke up and started to scream as she realized what was going on. I screamed, "Call the cops," to her, and I think this caused the man on the other side to stop. The next thing that happened after waiting in silence and fear was the sound of the police officers downstairs. They had entered the house through the front door that was apparently left open. The police investigated, took a report, and said they'd let the local media know of the incident. They even helped us find the circuit box and restore power. The next day, we left first thing in the morning, and on the ride home, I called the landlord, who said he hadn't even been near the Hamptons for a few weeks.
Story, you see, there was a story I saw a while back, a couple years ago, I believe. This one couple kept, having these problems, like some stuff would wind up missing, like food would be missing and stuff like that. And people were just like, "You're just paranoid. There's nothing there. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing going on." And they set up a hidden camera. And what they caught on the hidden camera not only shocked them, it shocked every single person who's watched it.
Somebody was living in the attic.
Yes,
Yeah.
someone was living in the upstairs crawl space, like up above the second floor, and at night opened up slid the little thing to the side, crawled out, got down and grabbed food and stuff, just climbed back up. Like, dude, if that were happening in this house, like, we live in a fairly large house. And if someone was hiding back in the corridors up there or up above my room, like, that'd scare the shit out of me. Because next thing you know, what if I'm, like just getting up one morning and I just look up and I see a little hole in the ceiling and someone's eye is peering right down at me and I'm just like... I run over to my closet, and here's the thing: there's a crawl space entry point in my closet, and I that's where I keep my guns and everything. And if they like slid the thing to the side, got down there and got my guns, dude, that'd be a terrifying scenario.
Yeah,
like it scares the shit out of me, like stuff like that, because that's a very realistic like scenario that could happen. Because as much as I want to believe in like the good side of people, you can never ever discredit the downside.
That's what the true crime podcasts and stories of all these mass murderers and shit will teach you, is just like, you have to be aware of the fact that your guard has to be not at 100.
No.
But present.
Yes.
Always.
You have to be aware that things can go south at any fucking point. Yeah, I mean, of course, maintain like an optimism about people and humanity.
Absolutely.
But just know that in the back of your mind, things can go south at the drop of a hat, and you got to be ready.
But that's the definite minority of people.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, most people out there like.
That doesn't mean it is not there.
Oh, exactly, exactly. It's like. Of course, at any given point, a meteorite could crash through the ceiling of this house and crush and kill all of us here.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's probably one of the more unlikely scenarios, but that doesn't mean that it cannot happen.
Yeah.
Never. Because in this infinite universe that we live, infinite possibilities are always swirling around us at all given times, and at any given point, the deck falls down, and we're the ones who wind up getting picked off.
Yeah, thanks for the existential crisis.
I know. I have that every day I wake up, dude. It's just
all
like...
the time, dude.
Yeah. Just like, am I really awake right now, or am I, like, on life support in a hospital somewhere, after having, like, a heart attack in my sleep? Huh. Oh, well, might as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
Oh,
the story I'm going to be telling you took place around 4 years ago as of today. I haven't told many people about this story because it's something I try to forget. Here's my story. It was a Monday evening, 4th of July. I just finished sophomore year in high school. I was invited to a few 4th of July parties. My parents grounded me a few days prior, so I couldn't go to any of them. However, I live in a neighborhood that's very connected, so my neighbors had a party outside in the cul-de-sac. My parents forced me to come outside for it. I'm not extremely awkward or anything, but I hate talking to older adults because I never know what to talk about. Luckily, I had a friend named Eli who lived in the same area, so I called him up and we hung out at the party. After a few minutes at the party, we got extremely bored. It just wasn't fun for us because there was no one our age in the area. We talked a little bit. Then Eli asked, "Doesn't Savannah live like down this street? We should go door ditch her." I agreed to Eli's suggestion, and we were on our way down the street.
God,
To
I haven't
clarify,
done door ditching in
Savannah
forever.
is that extremely popular girl that every guy has a crush on in high school. It was awkward enough that we were neighbors, but her dad was also my dentist. We made our way down the street. The sun began setting quickly. Eli and I made jokes about dumb things we found funny at the time. Being honest, we were both pretty nerdy our sophomore year. I eventually asked Eli if he knew where the house was located because I'd never been to Savannah's house before. After scanning the whole area of houses, Eli began pointing to my west. He was pointing at a big house that was pretty complex. We lived in a mediocre area in Michigan. Houses like this one were rare here. Anyway, we sneakily approached...
You don't want to door ditch the wrong house.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is Farmer Fred's going to come out with a shotgun and is going to assume that you're on his property. Mm-hmm. He is well within his rights to blow you away if you're there, if you're trespassing. That's the thing. Like, if you're going to door ditch somebody, make sure you know. It's just like if you're pulling a prank on somebody. Like, this is why I don't like a lot of prank channels that pull pranks on strangers that, like, can, like, be, like, really traumatic. Like, if you're pulling a prank on somebody, just being like, for instance, Eric Andre's the master of it. He pulls pranks that he's the victim of, but yet everyone sees it. It's just like, oh my goodness. Like, and the thing is, like, with some stuff, you know, certain pranks can go too far. And this is one that could go very far, very wrong, very fast.
Yeah.
And, hey, we're watching a video of horror stories, so it probably did.
Yeah.
The house. It was only to our surprise that no one was home. No cars in the driveway, the lights were off, nothing.
That's a sign that you're
We
at the
both
wrong
began
house.
observing the house. We agreed that she probably went on a trip with her family. I suggested that we come back next week and do the door ditch. Eli didn't listen, though. He kept staring at the house. He approached the front door.
Oh, no.
Eli, let's go, I yelled. He told me to be quiet as he opened the front door. His face lit up. They left the door unlocked. Eli suggested that we explore the house and that it would be quick. Being the curious teens we were, we entered the house. It was
Stupid.
dark and extremely cold.
Stupid.
We both split up, exploring the enormous house. I went into every room of the house and began to feel extremely guilty because that was considered breaking into someone's house.
Yes.
Also, we were invading the family's privacy.
Yes.
After a few minutes of contemplation, Eli began screaming. I walked over to the screams and found Eli. He was leaving what I believe was Savannah's room. "Why are you screaming?" I asked. He began walking me to the nearest bathroom. He locked the door and started whispering, "There was someone watching me in the closet." I tried reassuring him the person was probably a family member who thought we were breaking into the place. He immediately responded, "Why would he be hiding in a girl's room then?" From what I saw,
Very true.
the room's walls were entirely white, the bed covers were white, and it just overall gave off a girl's room vibe. I became suspicious myself. That was when we began to hear footsteps approach the bathroom door. We tried listening, but the walking seemed to stop. I told Eli to be quiet. Someone started mumbling something outside the door. Shortly after, there was knocking on the door. It started out soft. As it continued, it got louder and louder. It sounded as if someone was trying to break down the door. It started becoming a scene out of a horror movie when the person started screaming. It was a man's scream. I turned around and panically tried to open the window behind us. It was bolted down. I thought we were dead. There was a wrench right next to the toilet, and I used it to destroy the window. We jumped out of it and fell onto the bushes below. I still managed to break my ankle, but we ran out of there fast. Both Eli and I were so confused as to who that person was and what their intentions were. A few days passed, and the family came back. I couldn't take the guilt anymore. I turned myself into the cops and admitted to breaking in. The cops asked me a few questions. Later, they sat me down with my dentist, or the homeowner. I began the conversation with, "Yes, I'm guilty, but the guy hiding in your daughter's closet nearly tried killing me." My dentist showed mercy and didn't press charges. However, he just started to become anxious as he told me, "We never invited anyone to stay at our house."
You see, oh God, there's certain thing like whenever people, I understand Nikki's her apprehension for people coming in that she does not know, and you know, if someone comes into the house that I don't know, and you know I've not been informed on it, it can jar me a little bit, but you know, every time you all have brought someone over, you've always cleared it with me, you know, cleared the air in advance, and it's just like, okay, cool. And, you know, sometimes I would go over to my mom's house, and I'd show up there, and I remember this one, I'd come in, and there was this one dude standing in the middle of her living room. My mom was nowhere to be seen, and he was just standing there, big dude, like, in shape, bald head, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And he turns around and looks at me, and I'm just like frozen in the doorway, and I'm just like, hi? And he's just like, and all of a sudden, he opened his mouth, and the conversation we had was honestly very, like, perplexing, because all of a sudden, he's just like, oh, hello there. Hi, I'm Carlos. I'm actually from Yoruba Cattery, and I'm here delivering a cat for your mom. I'm sorry, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to... It turns out he was gay, and he was also, he's very, very well-spoken, very just, like, all, like, very professional, very nice person. And my mom comes out of her room, and she was like, she just got in there with the cat that she got from him, and I was just like, whew, okay, so...
This big dude's not here to kick my ass.
Yeah, this big dude's not here trying to break in, trying to steal stuff. You know, he's here delivering a cat for my mom. And I'm like, okay.
Well, dude, like the whole
We're
hiding
good.
in the closet thing, BTK, Dennis Rader.
That's what he
That's
did.
what he did. Well, he did it a few times, you know?
Yeah.
Not always, but a few of the times he would wait until people were gone and hide for hours and hours in their closet.
Yeah. It was a game to him in some ways. I mean, he saw that as a way of proving himself. And, you know, the sick fantasies that he played out in his head and the stuff that he did to people. Just, Jesus. I mean,
For real.
it's scary stuff, man. It's very, very scary stuff.
I used to work at this small sleepaway camp as a counselor. It was my
Oh, boy.
first job when I
Summer
was
camp
17.
stories.
It was the most fun I could have at any job that age. Plus, it would get me away from my parents' house for a month. I didn't exactly come from an enviable background. So at this camp, there were 5 buildings. The boys' dorms, the girls' dorms, the counselors' dorms, the main hall, which we called the shack, and a small bathroom building. In the shack was
Typical
the
summer camp
cafeteria,
build.
main office, and nurses' quarters, where any kids who suffered any kind of injuries would be brought. Kids' curfews would be 9 o'clock. Curfews only meaning they weren't allowed out of the dorm buildings past that time. I made good friends with this guy named Johnny. He was 3 years older than me, but we got along. It was a Friday night. I remember because I knew it was the start of the weekend. So for fun, Johnny and I went to hang out with these 2 girl counselors, who I'll leave their names out for privacy since I haven't seen them in many years. The 4 of us went out to the woods to smoke. One of the girls were mid-sentence when all we heard was a crunch of leaves in the vicinity. Surely a footstep. All of our heads turned the same way and at the same time. We all heard it. Then, a few seconds later, there was a blinding flash. We didn't understand at first. Unnerved, all of us cut the smoke sesh short and exited the woods at an extremely quick pace. Being back on the campgrounds felt a lot safer immediately, but we became paranoid that we were being watched by one of the camp supervisors, and that the flash was a picture being taken. We would surely get fired if we were caught smoking weed. So in a paranoid panic, we all rushed to our respective dorm buildings. The thing about me when I smoke weed, though, I get extremely paranoid and overthink everything.
That's
So as I sit in
typical.
my bed, it ate away at me, wondering if it was indeed a camera flash, and who took that picture. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to go to the shack and see if any of the supervisors were still working and come clean. Every counselor had a key to the building, so I unlocked the door that led to the cafeteria section, and the door slammed behind me, echoing into the dark, empty building. The only light was coming from that hallway, which I would take to get to the main office, hoping there would be someone still working. You may think I was crazy to be doing this, but I'm not exaggerating when I say I get paranoid, and I really couldn't afford to lose this job over something that wasn't even my idea. However, I would feel out whichever supervisor was on duty and see if they had actually seen what we were doing. As I walked down the hall towards
Paranoia,
the office,
dude.
though,
It gets
I
you,
realized
dude.
quickly that the office light was off.
It gets you hard.
No one was in the building. Just then, I heard the familiar sound of the cafeteria exit door that I had just went through slamming again. Was I seen entering the building? Was I being followed? I hid behind the intersecting hallway wall, peeking my head around, waiting to see who would be walking into the hallway. No one ever did, though. But it took me longer than it should have to notice something peering around the doorway to the cafeteria. It was a person's head. They were doing exactly what I was doing. peering in my direction. When I realized this, I didn't care about being quiet anymore. I ran as fast as I could to the nearest exit, feet stomping on the wood flooring. I ran to the counselor dorm, where only 3 counselors were still chilling in the common area, one of them being Johnny. I told him and only him about what I just witnessed. I didn't know what to think other than I was being followed. I think Johnny could tell I was being a little extra paranoid because I was high, so he told me to just go to my room and lock the door. He made sure to lock the main entrance to the building because I think I scared him too. That night I lay awake for a while, thinking, nervous. So many unanswered questions from one night. The beds in every counselor's room lay right next to a window without blinds, so moonlight would pour in on clear nights.
Oh, great.
But not on this cloudy night. It was just pure darkness.
Probably
Until, however, many hours after laying down, a flash filled my room. Lightning? No. There was no thunder, not even rain. I looked at the window, and all I saw was someone's silhouette out there. When they noticed me noticed them, I saw their hand making a waving motion at me. That was the last straw. I left my room screaming for Johnny. He had already gone to bed at this point, so I banged on his door till he opened up. I told him the man who was following me was at my window, so he went to check with me, but figures, he was gone. Johnny asked me if I was still high. I told him not at all, it had been hours. I asked if we should call the cops or something. He said no. He told me to sleep on the floor in his room with my blankets if it made me feel better. Low-key, I think he wanted me to because he was scared just like I was. I didn't understand why on the surface he was pretending to not take this seriously, given that he saw the first flash in the woods with me. I did sleep in his room, though. I didn't want to sleep alone. I was too terrified. The next day, I went to the main office to talk with one of the supervisors. She didn't really know what to do. She didn't call the police, but she gave me permission to call them if something else happened, for the safety of the children. But nothing happened again. Not until the last day on the job for counselors. This was when the kids had already went home, and it was the day we were supposed to pack up and leave. I woke up to 4 pictures taped on my window. One zoomed in on me in the woods that night with Johnny and the 2 girls. A second picture of me sleeping in my bed. A third picture of me entering the shack building that night we smoked, confirming I was being watched and followed. And the 4th picture, a zoom-in of my license plate number. I took the photos and showed them to the same supervisor. She kept them for evidence after writing down my whole story, including the smoking weed part. This was many years ago now, and nothing ever happened again. But I was scared to death that the picture of my license plate was some kind of threat, that whoever it was would track me. I still don't know who took those pictures.
Whew. Yeah. I'm about there with you, man.
Damn.
Holy shit.
The license plate one is the one that really sucks, because then it's like, I know who you are, motherfucker.
There's several that have gotten me like that. There's one on the dark web that absolutely just about the dark web that scared me. It was a chat roulette style thing, but it was people like showing off different videos of stuff.
Yeah.
Of like horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude was just like, he got on there, and he made sure that his webcam was off. You know, all permissions turned off. He wouldn't turn on for it. And then immediately, as soon as he gets on that website, the permission thing comes up, and he hits no. Like, does this website have permission to access your webcam? He hits no. So, yeah, it doesn't turn on. Anyway, after him being on the website for a little bit, he sees some things, and he's like, this is fucking sick. Why, who the hell would allow this? Like, this is disgusting. And then all of a sudden, someone, an admin comes into the chat and says, why are you here? He's like, I just was curious, man. Why is this stuff... And then before he could finish the sentence, typing in, all of a sudden, he sees the little light on his webcam turn on, and he looks, and then his face pops up in the little chat roulette box thing where you can see your face, and then all of a sudden he like covers it up with his hand, and then he gets to typing with one hand. He's like, "How did you do that?" And it's just like, stop covering the camera, Michael. He'd never said his name the entire time, and then there's just like, your name is Michael this and that and blah blah blah. You live here, blah blah blah. You leave the site now. I delete all your information. But if you stay on here and keep saying these things, we will take action. And it's just like, at that point, there's people making idle threats, and then there's people like, I don't want to take a risk on it being real.
Dude, there's a creepypasta that I read that was similar to that, but it was people from an alternate universe contacting somebody, like on a chat site, like, "Hey, help us get the fuck out of here."
Oh,
yeah. But they were trying to be sly about it, and they were really the bad guys from the alternate reality trying to get into ours.
Oh, yeah. That's I like that.
Yeah,
that's wicked. That's a great horror story.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Ooh. But all together, man. I mean, horror stories like this, I love these kind of things.
Oh yeah,
I love just like ones that just like put the little pins and needles on your skin, and you're just like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Makes you feel uncomfortable, but you know what? That's a good thing. I mean,
interesting.
It provides people like being scared, dude. People like to get that a little adrenaline rush.
Well, I think that, there's a limit. Like for me, I don't like gore.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Of course, there's sex that people don't like.
But true crime, and then stuff with like, fantasy, like demons, vampires, stuff. I'm not big on zombies.
Yeah.
But there's certain things I'm into.
Everyone's got their niche, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's got their niche. I mean, me, body horror, I like in certain degrees. I love Junji Ito. I love his work. You ever seen him?
I'm not sure.
He's a Japanese manga artist, and he specializes in like body horror with insects and stuff like that. For instance, they did an adaptation of his work, like short stories and anthologies and stuff like that. It's not particularly gory, but it's disturbing because in some of these there's like a kid at his window. He's like staring at his window, and then all of a sudden he sees this one, like, probably one of the most terrifying images of a person looking back at it. Like, honestly, I still see that image in my. You see, that's when you have a good artist, is when their image that they make sticks in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that everything that Junji Ito has ever done, the cat, the sleeping man, the snail infestation, like all of it is just like so memorable because of just how jarring it is. And I love his work. And body horror, to a certain extent, I like a lot. When it gets too gory, like you're saying, to me it loses some of its luster whenever it gets too gory, because
there's more to mystery to me than there is to actually. That's why I like podcasts and stuff like that, because I'm not like forced to actually see. I'm imagining, and luckily I don't have to imagine everything.
Yeah.
Like, circumstantial and emotional things, I can relate to, but like horrific gore and stuff like that, I'm just like, I just don't want to be exposed to that. It's gross to me. Even if it's fake. I know it's not real, a lot of things, but I'm just not into it.
That's understandable.
It makes me really uncomfortable.
I
think
that.
I'm too much of an empath, like I feel too bad thinking about. And I guess it also comes with like being exposed to real life trauma in some of the training and shit that I've done.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely.
So I understand like the severity of what's going on.
Yes, 100%.
And I'm just like, I want to help these people. Like,
of course.
Even slasher films and shit. It's just hard for me.
Well, I'll say one film that does a brilliant job of. To me, it's like a true crime movie. I remember reading a lot of reviews when it first came out. Everyone said, "Oh, it's super gory, super disturbing, super like this." It's like, it's actually not, because what this movie does is that it gives you all the pieces It gives you the action of the action of like the crime and the outcome. It shows you all the pieces and all the stuff, and it shows you like all the people who were involved with it and the outcome of it, and it lets your brain fill in the rest. And that movie is Seven. Seven does a tremendous job of doing that. And it's probably one of my favorite psychological horror films of all time, because, you know, it's based around the seven deadly sins, and it just shows all these bad, horrible things that have happened, but yet you don't see the actions of it. You just see the outcome, and you don't even see that much gore. There's not even that much gore in the film. And people were saying, oh, it's one of the goriest films I've ever seen. It's like, it's not really that gory at all. There's a little bit of blood here and there, but for the most part, it's your mind. It's the twisted nature of your mind doing all the work. It's Hitchcock had that theory about how the dark side of the mind can sometimes make things worse than they actually are.
Yeah.
And he was a master at portraying that with his films and suspense and everything. And Seven is one of the films I really wish David Fincher would do more horror. I mean, he did Mindhunters, which, you know, you were talking about the BTK killer earlier.
He's
a highlight of that.
Arcing character. I mean, he's started out in the beginning, the second season, and then the third, I think they're finally going to... It's around the time where he gets active.
Captured.
He becomes, you know,
very,
very active.
Yeah. And the thing with Mindhunters is that I hope that they finish the third season, because they released everyone from their contract so they could do other work. But I'm just glad David Fincher's back doing horror and psychological stuff again, because he's so good at it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more by him. I really would, but I guess that will remain to be seen. And for right now, that's going to do it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. These were 3 true summertime horror stories by Mr. Nightmare. Good Lord, what a trip on some of these. And hopefully you all enjoyed. And if you want to see more from Mr. Nightmare, there's actually a link to his channel right there in the title of the video. Feel free to check that out. If you want to see more from us, you know what to do. You hit that subscribe button, you ring that bell to stay notified. And until next time, everybody, signing off. I'm Nate.
I'm Chad.
We'll see you then, everybody. Peace out.